Hi everyone, I'm Trevor Kirczenow, your Liberal candidate for Provencher riding. Oh my goodness, it's the end of a super long day and we're absolutely wiped out, but there's a lot to talk about.
Well, we got some letters today. Maybe start with that.
Sure.
Okay. And info at trevor-liberal.ca if you have comments or questions or things you would like Trevor to address on the next podcast. So here's something about... somebody asked about our current MP. I don't understand why Ted Falk always wins. The only time I ever hear about him is at election time. Other than that, I have no idea what he does. Has he ever done anything to help his constituency? He doesn't even have to try because he knows people will vote for him no matter what. And then it goes on and on. But it is a good question.
I've been hearing that a lot. People don't know what he does or don't feel like he does anything. They don't feel like he's responsive.
Well, what does an MP do in general, then, maybe?
Yeah, or like, what could an MP do? What could they get done? And we've wanted to talk about this for a little while. So I thought it would be interesting to look a little bit at Ted Falk's record and to just talk about what would be possible. Today, I went to Enola in support of a fundraiser for a new recreation center, and right away I thought, well, if I were elected, I would be fighting for that to be built. I was told that the center still needs to secure some federal funding in order for that to be able to happen. And then later in the day, I went door knocking in Lorette, and a voter there asked me about the rec center there that in Lorette they've been waiting for forever, and when might that ever happen? So I looked up some news. Actually, in November, the news came out that at least 17 Conservative MPs had advocated on behalf of communities in their ridings to access the Liberal government's Housing Accelerator Fund. But then Pierre Poilievre said that he would cut that program, and he actually forced his MPs to withdraw their support for it and to stop advocating for their communities to be able to access it.
So I don't understand. So the program is available, but he says don't apply for it. What? Because we might cut it when we're in government? Is he just counting chickens before he hatches, or he just didn't support the program?
He doesn't support the program.
Well, whether he does or not, like don't
Right.
constituents deserve for their MP to access the programs that are available?
Right, and that's exactly what a mayor in New Brunswick said about this when the news came out. He said, "The responsibility, both ethically and by having the job, is to advocate for the constituents in their riding. Whether the program available is put in place by your party or another party is irrelevant." And I really agree with that. Now, this news came out because the Liberal minister running that program publicized the fact that those 17 MPs had written to him asking for their constituents to access that fund.
So first they applied, and then they suddenly said, actually, no, we don't want to? Or
Right, well, while Poilievre was saying, we want to cut that program, it's a terrible program, the Liberal minister is getting these letters from Conservative MPs, and so then, he made that public.
Okay.
So I think that's one thing that an MP certainly can do, and that kind of advocacy, it can include connecting with and working with officials at all levels of government and from different parties to work on problems. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing that's really important.
Well, I mean,
it could be done.
As a constituent, or if I was a municipality coming to my MP, I don't think I'd want to hear, well, I don't like that program, so I'm not going to support you applying for it. That's really strange. Okay.
Mind you, Ted Falk was not one of the 17 MPs who was named as having done that kind of advocacy.
So he may not have applied at all. We don't know.
He wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
He when I searched his record, it seemed that he'd presented 2 petitions. One of them called on the Canadian government to stop the Chinese government from killing Falun Gong practitioners. Which that was curious to me that was a petition that he chose to present, because just the other day in his interview in the Niverville Citizen, he was saying that he wants Canada to decrease our spending on foreign aid because he feels that it's wasteful. So it really sounds like he does not want us to be so involved in the international community.
And yet one of his 2
petitions was about being involved in the international community.
So maybe for a moment, while we're on that, maybe you could say something about like this. There's this whole thing about the U.S. aid program just completely collapsing. Now there's a I guess a conservative push towards like we're also going to go that same route.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like the conservatives think, wow, that's great that in the States they're saving all that money, and we should do that too. We should make similar cuts. But I think that's really the wrong direction to go. First, because it's the wrong thing to do. A lot of that type of aid, it has to do with basic health care, preventing disease in impoverished countries, that sort of thing. So, it's a good thing to help around the world, and also this is a time when Canada is looking to try to increase our trade and our relationships with other countries aside from the U.S. So it doesn't make sense to step back from international relations in that way. And right. I think if we cut all our foreign aid, that's not going to do anything to better our reputation on the world stage.
And I remember reading also that U.S. aid, like they were a huge customer for a lot of U.S. farmers who are now, they don't have markets for their grains. So I don't know exactly how much Canadian aid has gone in terms of farmers' output to developing countries, but there's certainly going to be a huge vacuum there now that the U.S. is drawn out of that. There might be great market potential through foreign aid.
Right, that's a good point.
I made a good point.
Okay, some more things that I looked up about Ted Falk. In a debate over conversion therapy, Mr. Falk was asked directly, does he consider any sexual orientation other than heterosexuality to be a pathology? And he said, that's a very good question, but then he didn't answer the question. And it should be a really easy question to answer. So that's pretty horrifying to me. Really sad. But that's one of the things that he's spending his time doing when he is representing us, including representing our family.
So Falun Gong and standing up for Falun Gong and hemming and hawing.
Right. He presented some private members' bills. One of them was his Fairness and Charitable Giving bill, which, when I looked that up, it was widely considered to be very poorly thought out. Maybe the intentions were good, but it was a very badly written bill. It would have actually cost taxpayers $1.2 billion per year, and the experts that took a look at it did not think that it would have resulted in any increase in charitable giving.
What was the intended purpose of it?
Good question. I mean, maybe the intention was to try to increase charitable giving, but people thought that it would not have actually done that.
It wasn't costed out.
And the result really would have been an upper middle to upper class tax cut. And it also contains some incorrect information within the bill. So, yeah, and that's that. He's been in Parliament for a long time. and that's pretty much what I could find.
But he's been also on committees, I guess.
Yeah, there was one interesting committee item that I found where witnesses had traveled in order to be interviewed by the committee, and Ted Falk spent time during that committee session presenting on a different topic, and then he was repeatedly asked by other members of the committee, how much longer are you going to be? These people have traveled here to speak with us and we're wasting their time. But he didn't seem to mind that, and it seemed just really disrespectful.
Well, do you think he was basically trying to like draw out the time so they wouldn't talk about this, what they were there to speak about? What were they there to talk about?
The witnesses were there talking about green energy and energy efficiency. They were experts in that field that had a lot of experience in that field, and Ted Falk wanted to talk about pipelines.
Oh, well, I mean, to be cynical, you'd think, oh, he just like, well, we're just going to like filibuster it, basically.
Right. Yeah. So when I look at that record, I find it very frustrating. And I have a bit of experience actually managing to make some change in our political system, even though I haven't been elected before. But we together did some pretty amazing diabetes advocacy at the provincial level. And I think what we learned through that is that it takes a lot of persistence, creativity, and making the right connections with different people.
Right. You got to get people on board, and different levels of government are on different sides of the political spectrum, and you've got to find that common ground. And if you're not looking for common ground and looking for the programs that can help people, then really you're not succeeding at that job.
Right. And we worked with all the different political parties, and we did some pretty creative stuff. I felt like we were trying to convince the provincial government to include continuous glucose monitors in pharmacare coverage. So one of the things that we did was we asked MLAs to prick their own fingers to test their blood sugar and learn what that experience was like, because that was what the provincial government was expecting our children with type 1 diabetes to be doing instead of having access to a continuous glucose monitor. And we also got the media involved and just raised a lot of awareness about it. And after about 6 months, the government did change its policy and decided to include those devices under pharmacare.
Yeah, I remember at the time thinking, this is so much more expedient than just like circulating a petition and presenting it to the government where it gets into the cylindrical file right away. You just got to dig in with those relationships and talk to people about what it means. And you
have to keep following up. Like, it's not enough to send one email or leave one voicemail. Like, you have to send that initial email and then follow up and see, okay, did the minister have time to consider this? What does the minister think about it? Could we have a meeting? Who else might be able to help us?
I mean, just getting back to it, I don't know if Ted Falk was successful in preventing Falun Gong members from being persecuted in China. Like, has he followed it?
I don't think so. And his private members' bills didn't pass, although that's not uncommon for private members' bills. But, yeah.
Well, there we go. Tune in next time, friends, for another podcast. But I really think that having seen how you work with people, that kind of energy that you just spoke of working with different levels and looking at the government, like that research background comes into play. So I think...
Yeah, I like to gather a lot of information before I form an opinion on something, which sometimes slows me down, but then I feel like I'm really well prepared once I decide to tackle it. And then just digging in and making those connections and being really persistent, but always staying positive as well, so that you're approaching people in a positive way and they want to work with you.
All right, so thank you for congratulations on making it all the way through the podcast while we talk about policy. And
This was a long one.
yeah, and so next podcast, if you have any ideas, again, info@trevor-liberal.ca, and see you on the campaign trail.